I'll be taking you up pattern drafting today by Jane pattern drafting method. So for us to do that, we have our bold. We start with the top line. That's the first line we have. How do we get it? Get 2 inches from your first drawing. That is your top line. Okay. The next thing you do, and you also have the front. You can see the front. You also have the back. You can see the back. Okay. The next thing you do is to get the waistline. The waistline. How do you get this waistline? See this waistline. You get it from measuring your full length, your full front length, which is my own is 15. So that means from your top line to here is 17 inches. My full length, that is half length. Okay, you draw it across, touching to the back and the front. You have the next thing you measure out the hip line. The hip line is 9 inches from the waistline. You can see the hip line here, 9 inches from the waistline, both in the front and also at the back. You can see the hip line. Okay. The next thing you do is to measure out the bust line. How do you get the bust line? The bust line is got by using the bust line formula, which is the nape to waist divided by 2 minus 1. Nape to waist divided by 2 minus 1 will give you the bust line. Okay, bust line formula. Measure the answer up from the waistline. So what we have, our bust line, our nape to waist is my own nape to waist is 15. I divide it by 2 to give me 15 divided by 2, 7.5. I minus 1. I have 6.5. That means from waistline, from here, I measure at 6.5 to get my bust line. I will draw the bust line. We touch both the front and the back. You can see the bust line. Okay. The next thing I have to get is the across chest. And how do I get the across chest? Across chest, you get the across chest line by measuring 2 inches above the bust line. So I measure 2 inches above the bust line. I get the across chest. Okay, just for the front. And the next thing I have to get is the front shoulder line. How do I get the front shoulder line? How do I get the front shoulder line? To get across, to get the front shoulder line, I measure 1/4 inches below the top line. Okay, 1/4 inches, this top line, below the top line, I get the front shoulder line. And then the next thing I have to get is okay, I've already gotten the front bust line. You know how we get the front bust line? By using the full length minus nape. My full length is 17. Nape to waist is 15. Difference between the two is 2. So 2 inches from the bust line, I get my front bust line. Okay? And then, how do I get across chest? I've already shown you how we got across chest. To get the across chest, measure 2 inches above the front bust line. 2 inches from here, you get the front bust line. So we go over to the back for us to get the nape line. The nape line, you measure outwards the nape to waist upward from the waistline. This is the waistline. My nape to waist is 15, so from here to here is 15 inches. I get my nape line measurement. The next measurement is across back. How do I get the across back? I find the midpoint between the nape line and the bust line. This is the bust line already gotten, and this is the nape line their difference, that is their midpoint will give us the across back. And the next thing is the back shoulder line. For us to get it, we get 1/4 from inches from the nape line. This is nape line. 1/4 inches will give us the back shoulder line. After drawing this, the next thing we do, we get this measurement needed. We get the basic back arc, that is the bust back arc. We divide it by 2. Bust back arc, we divide it by 2 to get our what? To get our back bust point. So my back bust line is around the 16.5. I divide by 2, I get 8.25, which is this point, and I add the prime, which is 2 to 8. That is 1/4. That is this 0.3 and 3 prime. The next one is the front bust line, which is bigger. My own is around the 18.5. Divided by 2, I have 9.25. That is 9 to 8, which is here. That is the front bust line plus the prime, which is 2.8. Okay, I have it here. The next thing you measure is the waist circumference divided by 2. My waist is around 29. Divided by 4, I have 7.25, which is here. Okay, the same thing to the other side. Okay, divided by 4, you get the same thing here. We call it 4. We call this one 7. Okay, the next thing you do is across chest divided by 2. You get the across chest point. Across chest here at this point. Across back, divide by 2. You also get this point here. After that, you get the hip back arc. Hip back arc divided by 2. On the hip line, you have it here. At this point, you put your prime, which is 2 to 8. At the back, you also have your hip back divided by 2. You have it here. And you also 5 at point. And also put your prime, which is 2 to 8. At the end of the day, you start leveling the points. We're going to level this back shoulder to be 1. Across back 2. We have the bust line, that is the back bust line, to be 3 and 3 prime. We have the back waist line to be 4. Okay, we have the front the back hip line to be 5 and 5 prime. Front hip line 6 and 6 prime. Front waist line 7. We have front bust line 8 and 8 prime. We have across chest at the front 9, and we have the front shoulder line to be 10. So that is the leveling. After the leveling, we start joining. We're going to join 3 to 4. So we join 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Okay, we join 3 prime to 5 prime. We join 3 prime to 5 prime. Okay, normal, we have it here. 3 prime to 5 prime. Okay, we also join 3 prime to 5. We have 8 to 7. We join 8 to 7 here. You can see our 8. We join it to 7. And there we join 7 to 6. Okay, that's the joining. We also join 8 prime to 6 prime. We have 8 prime. We join it to 6 prime initially. Before we get this former one, it was on this line. Okay, just like 3P and 5P was on this line. I will still show you how we eliminated this. And we're not using this now. So after that, the next thing you do is to do what? To join 1 to 2 and see 1 to 2. Okay? After joining 1 to 2, you draw a line from point 2 like this. to hit the bust line, straight line at x, okay, you measure x to 3, divide it by 2. Whatever you get, you drop it here. But before that, you make an angle 45 degrees on this x using your protractor. So when you measure x to 3, you divide whatever you get by 2. You mark it on this angle of 45 degrees. You call it M. At the end of the day, use a curve ruler. You join 1A. You know how to get A. Between the midpoint of 1 and 2, you drop a point and you push the point 1/8 inside. At the end of the day, you join 1A, 2, M, 3, and 3 prime. It will give you a curve which will be your back armhole. Okay? You also have you have your one on your nip line. Just measure 1 to 8. You join from that point to the tip of your armhole, which will be your tip of your armhole, and then you make up the line from that tip to be your neck curve. Okay, or rather your neck depth for the back. So when you come to the front, what you do to get the chest, or let's say okay, let's complete the armhole first. At the same point, you join 10 to 9, get the midpoint, drop, move 3, 8 away at that midpoint. You call it B. Also make draw from the point 9. From point 9, you move straight to a point Y, make an angle degree. That point to the left, you draw your angle 45 degree. Then at the end of this, measure 8 to 9, divide it by 4, mark it on the angle, and call it N. At the end of the day, join 10, B, 9, N, 8 and 8 prime to get the armhole of the front. How do you get the neck depth of the front? You get your bust circumference divided by 12. Whatever you get, measure it out here. Measure it out here like a box. Use 1/4 distance from here to here, and you use your curve to make a curve. Anyway, you join these two lines to get your shoulder, yeah, that is your shoulder. So, and that is it. The next thing you do is the shaping or tightening the darts of your waistline. Just as initial distance we have, you have 7 prime to 7, 4 prime to prime. Measure it, whatever you get, divide it by 6. Pick it here. How do you get this? From here to here is 2 inches above on your bust line. Drop the point, draw the straight line. Whatever you get from the addition of 7 prime to 4 prime, add it divided by 6. Mark it out here. So you've already picked up 4. Okay, it's remaining 2. The 2 remaining divided by, multiply it by 2. The 2 remaining, add it up, divide it by 3. Pick it here, and also you're going to cut out small, that is out here, so that you have a very wrapping back behind that will join to the back and to the hip. At the end of the day, you measure out your complete waist. And how do you get your waist measurement? My waist here is 29, divided by 4, 7.5. Measure it here. This one is already going to go. That is that leg for the front. So you from here to here measure, from here to here measure. you add up to the remaining of your measurements, okay? Because you've already added it, say you make it up. When you make it up, you mark it and use it and complete it. You wipe up the other one because you're not going to include it again. Something that's applicable here, measure here, add up to the remaining, know where it ended to give you 7.25 like I'm using. You wipe out the remaining, and that is what you have for this chain pattern drafting. This is what you're going to use to do what? As your master pattern to make your designs, especially body bodies. Okay, from there we can still get our pencil skate, pencil gown, even our A-line skate. That should be a lecture for another day, but today we've just succeeded in drawing the normal body bodies. Okay, right? So that's what you have. Also know that you can also get your bust start by finding the difference between your front line and your back line. That is your nape to waist. My own is 17 for the half length, front length, and nape to waist is 15. Difference is 2. I measure 2 inches join it to the bust line, and this is a dart, armhole dart. So we're going to call it a day today. That is what we have today in our pattern drafting. So you can ask questions in the comment box and try and do yours. Thank you. Have a lovely day.